I'd like to thank you guys for joining us tonight, first of all. The last time I spoke with Maris and with Antoinette, I won't say there was gladness, but there was at least some relief that it appeared that this inquest was going to move forward and it was going to happen in, we were told, early spring. Here we are moving towards summer, and that's not the same story now. Antoinette, could you tell us what's happened since the last time you were on the show?
Do you know what, right, be honest with you, Finbar, right, Brendan O'Carroll couldn't even put this into his programme because the government is a comedy of errors here. They just don't know when to stop making fools out of us, right, and enough is enough, right, as far as we're concerned, right, the whole country is behind us, the world is behind us. 8.6 million was put aside, right, for the inquest, for the Stardust inquest. And all the legal teams, right, for all the other parties like Dublin Corporation, Dublin Fire Brigade, the owner, Butcherley's legal team, the Chief State Solicitor's Office, like every single party that's involved in this inquest have gotten their money. But we're left like the slaughter again, begging for legal aid, which is an absolute joke. Like, we're left like criminals. And there was a thing in the legal aid that hasn't been changed. The regulations haven't been changed since 1995. So it leaves us a stumbling block now where we can't move anywhere because some of the families don't qualify for legal aid because they're over the limit. And some families do qualify for it. So in other words, right, the inquest is for the 48 victims. That's 45 families. So we can't go ahead with it because some of the families don't have the funding, and this is where we're hitting a hiccup, like a stumbling block again, another obstacle put in our way because the government just tried to keep doing this all the time to us. Every time we think we're nearly there, right, we hit a concrete wall.
So let me get this right, okay? We're in the 40th anniversary this year, 2021, of the Stardust Disaster, when 48 young people lost their lives, hundreds of young people and middle-aged people were injured. Your mother and father personally fought for 35 years, and your mother died recently, so 40 years fighting for your mother to get some kind of an inquest and justice. And we have on our other programme spoken about the details of this, and we will go into it a little bit again and why there should be an inquest. But in the 40th anniversary, when you were promised over 8 million ring fenced for this inquest and promised this inquest, are you telling me that these guys are saying now you're getting no money from the Department of Justice for your legal representation, and yet they're telling you to apply for legal aid when legal aid doesn't cover inquests? Is that it in a nutshell?
That's it, yeah, that's it.
Okay, and it would make your blood boil. We had Jackie Fox on this show in relation to something in relation to Coco's Law and our daughter's loss of life through suicide because of bullying online. And, you know, the Department of Justice tried to hoodwink her as well. Even at the final stages when everything seemed to be achieved and done, they were still putting obstacles in Jackie Fox's way. And they seem to be doing the same with you and with Maris and Phyllis and everybody else. Maris and Phyllis,
yes.
What do you guys think about this?
We're very upset at it, about the whole situation. It's just ongoing. We're knocked back every time we try and move forward. Every time we think we're getting there, and when we think we're there, we're just knocked down again. Now, we're going to continue fighting. Of course we are. But, you know, Phyllis and I are not getting any younger. And we feel that we should get some cooperation from the government at this moment. They should just go ahead and say, yes, okay, release the funds. I can't see why we're discriminated against as regarding the funds, because everybody else has got them, like the Gardaí, Síochána, Connor, the Dublin Fire Brigade, their own government departments. They've all got their funds. But we seem to be the lower echelon of the whole thing altogether.
But isn't there a slap in the face when they're telling you to go and apply for legal aid when they know right well that legal aid doesn't cover this?
Of course they are, and they knew very well when they did it. It's another stalling tactic by them to send out these application forms for legal aid, as far as I'm concerned. and I won't be filling out the form, that's for sure. I mean, we should be treated equally as the Garda Síochána, the Dublin Fire Brigade, and anyone else has been funded at this stage. That's just my opinion at this moment. And Phyllis and I are quite upset every time this comes up. And we've been helping out with Antoinette. Antoinette's been very good. And the whole family, the whole Keegan family are very good fighting this case. But for some reason or other, there's some blockage there. I have a funny feeling that there's something there that the government don't want opened. There could be a can of worms in there.
Yeah.
Government.
That maybe the fire brigade and the rest of them wouldn't really give a damn about, but the families would.
Yeah.
And is that why they don't want you guys having legal representation?
Well, the what you call it, the fire brigade or the Garda didn't lose any of their children, but we lost our only daughter, Caroline, and Antoinette lost 2 sisters. And I mean, it is up to us now to fight this case and get them to open up the inquest, not the Garda to open up the inquest, because they haven't lost anybody.
Yeah.
It is us that have lost our children, not the fire brigade or the Garda Síochána or anybody else. It's us that have lost our children. And we should be, you should get this inquest open, properly open, instead of all this carry on that's going on at the moment.
Yeah. And my understanding of it is that this does not require, so if you were to get funded through the legal aid process, for example, it does not require a change of law, but only a change of the regulations around who is covered in terms of this. So this could be done at the stroke of a pen by a minister, a change to make it easy for you to be able to access your funding for your legal representation. Would I be right in that assessment? I think I am.
That's correct. Yeah. The push of a button, the stroke of a pen, as they say, dot the I and stroke the T. It can all be sorted out like literally in 1 minute.
Yeah. And I think your legal representation is a very good solicitor, barrister, solicitor, I think, Dara Mackin, is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay. And he was the one that was keeping you posted about all of this kind of stuff.
Yes, he was. Yes.
It actually came up on the last Zoom meeting that we had on the 24th of March with the coroner, because she asked, was everyone ready to go? And our solicitor then said, we have a problem. And he said, I've already sent a letter to the Minister of Justice in relation to this, that the regulations haven't been changed for free legal aid since 1995. And the coroner was actually taken back on it. Like, it's just, it's actually degrading, like, with the situation that we've been left in. Like, we are the victims here. We're not the criminals, but yet we're left fighting, right, again, looking for free legal aid. And
so the coroner, everybody was ready for this. The room was booked in the RDS, so the rooms and the space was booked. Money was laid out, and another hurdle. Yeah,
but this is what the state does on us all the time. It's just something. It's like 40 years of systematic abuse they've thrown at us, right? And nothing surprises us anymore because we're used to it. But we're not letting them away with it. Because I swore as my mum was dying in the sitting room in my house here with my brothers and sisters here, the one thing that she wanted was the inquest opened. And she is going to get her dying wish, and we promised her, right, that we will do it for her. And my father as well fought so hard as well. And both of them are together in heaven with their 2 daughters. But we're not going to give up. Maurice and Phyllis is with us. A whole lot of families, we're all united, and united we stand. And we're going to make sure that they're not getting away with this. They've done enough on us over the years, and enough is enough.
I was going to ask you if this latest obstacle, this latest news, has deflated you or has cut you even more. But it sounds, Antoinette, to me as though it's put the fight back into you.
It has, yeah, Finbar. Like it's just something that happens on a constant, like, daily basis. Like. We think we're nearly there, and then, as Maurice said, an obstacle gets flown in our way. Like, each time that we're saying, right, okay, we're nearly there, and the inquest is going to happen in early spring. As you said, it could be early summer. And if they're saying early spring, is it going to be spring 21 or spring 22? Like, they don't confirm nothing. Like, I sent an email yesterday to the Minister of Justice, and I sent one to the Taoiseach, right, explaining the situation about the funding for the inquest, and also about the historical costs, because there's money outstanding from the historical costs, and that we wanted to get the inquest up running. Like the RDS is getting rent paid, right, and all the other legal team have been paid. So this is going to run into a substantial amount of money, but it's not on our part that it's running into a substantial amount of money. It's on the state's part for putting us in this situation again.
Yeah, and that's the truth of it, really, because it's not, you're not looking for tens of millions here.
No, all we want is the truth. We want to know what happened to our loved ones.
No, but even in terms of just trying to get the funding for your legal costs, it's not going to be tens of millions.
No, it's not. No.
You know, so, and it can be done at the stroke of a pen. Just Phyllis and Mars, and maybe Phyllis, how is this affecting you? It sounds like it's put the wind into Antoinette to be able to fight on a bit more. How's it affecting you?
It is affecting us very badly, because, I mean, she was our only child. And secondly, they should not have let them in that night. They were brought into a fire trap, and that should never have happened. Because it should not have been opened that night. He was told not to open it. Well, what did he do? Because it's money making thing. So he opens up the Stardust, and 48 children died, and over 200 were injured.
And all of your lives have been changed forever.
Yes, of course it has. Of course it has. Sure. She was our only child. You know?
Wasn't the first insult way back when they tried to say that this was arson?
Yes, exactly. And our children didn't go in to the Stardust that night to commit arson. Definitely not.
Mm.
You know.
And I think the evidence is all pointing to the fact that the building itself was just a fire trap.
The building itself was a fire trap, and they were allowed in. They were charged, I think it was £3 or whatever it was that night, and they were all killed. 48 of them were killed, and it's an absolute disgrace.
And isn't it amazing that the political cover-up started 40 years ago? And for some reason, even though the main players are no longer with us, even though the younger political players that are still with us can say they were only young fellas, and, you know, it's still, for some reason, they're doing everything to stop the families getting justice. Can any of you guys come up with any reason in your mind why, even after 40 years, they're trying to stop justice?
Well, I think there's something there. There's something amiss there, and they know something. There's something in the record somewhere that they're afraid that if it's opened, there'll be absolute disgraceful situation coming out of it altogether. And there could be trouble for the previous governments that were in power. And there's still some of them there that know all about this and didn't help it. Like years ago when the first tribunal was opened, Phyllis and I thought in our naivety that we were going to come to the truth to get justice at that time. We were fooled, weren't we? We were fooled.
We all believe.
And we are still being fooled by the government. If it was anybody else, I tell you, it was any other country, I tell you, it'd be sorted out by now.
Mm. But I think ultimately, the truth is, you are going to win. Ultimately, it's just a shame that it has to take so long.
I hope we are going to win. I hope so.
We are going to win, and basically, Finbar, right, what they're doing is they're trying to fob us off, right, and hope, my mum passed away last July, that more parents will pass away and more families will give up, right, and they'll just all stop, but it'll never stop, because when this is all out and the truth comes out, it's going to be the biggest scandal in the history of the state. And Fianna Fáil covered it all up. Fianna Fáil are responsible, and Fianna Gael are behind it too.
Because it is really that clear link between politics and the owner of that building. And so politics and business in Ireland, it's a real reflection of the way things used to work. And it would appear the way things still work, because I still don't understand what skin the politicians of today have in this. You know, it brings, in my mind, it brings more shame on them to continue behaving the way they're behaving now than any shame that could be brought on by the revelation of corruption in the past. There's more shame now. Antoinette, just to cover you with that question as well, do you see any reason, maybe in your mind, why they might be doing this?
Well, as you said there, Finbar, right, you just look at the situation in 1981, the crime scene was interfered with by politicians, by the Taoiseach, the then Taoiseach, by the guard. Like, everybody was allowed to walk on that, even though it was 48 killed, and that was a crime scene. So then, like, on the second day, right, we had the Taoiseach saying there's rumours going around that was arson. So, like, obviously they're all trying to cover their own, like, backs. They are, because they're all involved in this.
Yeah, yeah. From top to bottom, and it'll probably, you know, it'll probably reveal to a degree the way things used to be, but I think the way things still are. Just in terms of what can be done about this, your solicitor, Mr. Mackin, is making all his efforts possible. But outside of what Mr. Mackin is doing, I spoke to Antoinette and Maris earlier and yesterday about the case with Jackie Fox and Coco's Law, and how we on this show had a campaign asking people to email the Minister of Justice, that was Helen McEntee at the time, politely in relation to a deception or an obstacle that the Minister had put in front of Jackie Fox. And that campaign actually worked. We ended up meeting the Minister for Justice and getting more than we had originally asked for. Would you guys, into the future, not now, but if needs be into the near future, would you be willing to look at doing things like that to make this happen? Because I'm just concerned, as you said, Antoinette, people are getting older, you know, and I'm concerned this could go on for another few years, whereas a sharp, a smart shock to the shin by doing something like an online campaign might actually bring them round to their senses a lot quicker.
I would 100% agree with you there, Finbar, because incidentally speaking, it's not even about age. One of the campaigners that was like with us for a long, long time, Eugene Kelly, he was only 62. Like, he passed away last October, and he was like, his birthday was coming up on he passed away on the Wednesday. His birthday was the following Saturday, and like that, he wasn't sick or anything like that. Just like 1 minute he's outside the coroner's court on the 14th of October, and then the next thing, like, trying to contact him, and he passed away. Yeah. But like, it's the state, like, know what they're doing, right? So we would actually appreciate, like, on a show, like, for your listeners to actually write to the Minister of Justice and sort this mess out that we're left in.
Well, what we'll do is we'll talk about it behind the scenes more and do what we did with Jackie. And I want to try to link you in with Jackie as well. She's an amazing woman. And we'll come up with some kind of a plan in some way where we'll ask our viewers, and maybe try to get other programs to ask their viewers over the period of a day or two to email the Minister's office. We won't do it yet. We'll talk to you guys and we'll work it out with you. We wouldn't do anything behind your back or off the bat without getting your full agreement on that. But it is something that you would be willing to look at to engage our viewers, because they did a great job with the Jackie Fox Coco's Law campaign, and I'm sure that they would want to help you guys as well.
Yeah, we'd really like that. We'd really appreciate it very much. Thanks very much, Finbar.
And Maris and Phyllis, how do you feel, just off the cuff, how would you feel about something like that?
Yes, that would be fabulous. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we agree with that.
We agree with it, because we are devastated over this whole thing that's going on at the moment. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's very, very upsetting.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I wouldn't be thanking me or our audience. We want to thank you for the 40 years that you've had to carry your burdens, but keep this fight up as well. And we want to thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this fight into the future. So I wouldn't be thanking us at all with regards to that. Guys, I'm gonna call it a day now, other than I want to introduce you to a wonderful independent journalist called Anna Kavanagh. And Anna was really, really annoyed yesterday when I spoke to her about what's happening with you guys and your denial of legal funds. So Anna, I think, just wanted to maybe speak to you and introduce herself and maybe ask you a question herself. Are you there, Anna?
Yes, Finbar, and hello, Antoinette and Phyllis and Maris.
Thank you very much.
I just want to, I suppose, extend my deepest sympathy to you on the loss of your loved ones in that terrible fire. I actually remember it so well. I was actually a student in Dublin at the time, working in Dunnes Stores in Cornell's Court at the weekend, and I remember that Saturday morning going to work and hearing about the terrible tragedy. And I have followed the story closely over the years. And I suppose, just to establish some facts, Charlie Haughey was the Taoiseach of the day. And very, very shortly after the fire, he appointed a High Court Judge, Ronan Keane, to lead an inquiry into the cause of the fire. And before the end of the year, it was 1981, I think November 1981, Ronan Keane presented his report, and his conclusion was...
No, it was November 1982.
Sorry, November 1982. Yeah. The fire was in fact caused maliciously, and for that reason, then the insurance company didn't have to pay out compensation to the victims because it was malicious. And the family that owned the Stardust building were able to be compensated out of the state compensation fund for. There was a special fund for to compensate people that suffered malicious damage. Now, as I say, Ronan Keane, his wife Terry Keane, was a columnist at that time with the Sunday Independent. And in 1999, in an interview with Gay Byrne, the Late Late Show, she admitted that she was having an affair with Charlie Haughey since 1972. So if we just stand back and just join up the pieces of the jigsaw, we have a situation where the Taoiseach of the day was having a secret affair with a journalist, and he appoints her husband to head up the Stardust inquiry. And of course, if we look to the situation today, that the son of Charlie Haughey is a member of the present government. So I've heard you say, that there is a can of worms there, that when the truth eventually comes out, there will be a terrible scandal. And I suppose the state is actually stonewalling. Stonewalling and preventing the truth from coming out at this time, because it is going to be a major embarrassment to people that are still living, and people that have been involved, in what happened over the years. So all I can say is that it is a horrendous denial of justice. But as you have so rightly said, the truth is going to come out in the end. It always does.
That's right. Antoinette, you wanted to come in there for a second?
No, as I said, Finbar, it's going to be the biggest disaster. It's the biggest disaster in the history of the state. But when the truth does come out, it's going to be the biggest scandal in the history of the state. Now, at the time when the Ronan Keane was appointed, we didn't know that there was a connection with the Taoiseach having an affair with his wife. That only came out.
And the Taoiseach was good friends with Butterley, and Butterley was donating money to Fianna Fáil.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
There is high connections in high places, and it's like.
I suppose Anna is right in the sense that Fianna Fáil are back in government. They're down at 11%, if not less, in the polls, and the last thing they need is more scandal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right there.
Yeah. Guys, listen, I'm really, really glad that you joined me tonight. I wish you had been joining me to say that you were happy with the inquest and it was moving forward. You will be on the show saying that someday. I promise you, you will. Hopefully, I'm going to have you on in the next few weeks. I speak to your legal people in relation to having an online campaign. And again, once more, thanks for joining us. Maris, Phyllis, Antoinette, do you want to finish up with any final comments?
I'll let Phyllis have more.
It was true, very true. There was a connection between the owners of the Stardust and the government of Fianna Fáil party.
Butterleys.
It's very years ago where they had a thing called Tucka. You remember Tucka?
Rings a bell. Explain it to me, Maris.
The fundraiser raised by a very prominent financial guy, right? And he set it up, and there was 1,000 members. You had to be invited to attend, and it was €100 membership at that time, or sorry, £100 at that time.
Good woman, Phyllis.
They would hold dinners. And they would charge €100 or £100 a head for the dinner. So you could have 12 guests there. So you can imagine the amount of money was raised. And in the memoirs that was printed by the Buttery, he said that you had to remember this, and he was amazed at the number of people that were there at these dinners. And he said, well, mostly building contractors and developers.
Yeah.
And he
the Galway tent, essentially.
Yeah. So there's So sorry, Phyllis.
No, but like, why take it out on us people? You know, I mean, if they want to do the bad things, why take it out on us? We don't want any bad things done on us.
Yeah.
We have enough bad things done on us now at the moment. You know.
You know something, Phyllis? You couldn't have said that more simply and just more purely. It's just, you're so damn right.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, it's just very, very, very unfair, like, to all of us, you know. And like, we're getting on now in life, and well, I'm very pleased. I'm very healthy, thank God. And Morris is very healthy, but you know, I mean, it's very unfair to us too, you know, having to go through all this, you know.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're going to have you back on the show soon, hopefully to launch an internet campaign. In the meantime, you guys stay safe, and I'll be speaking to you. I'll give you a buzz over the next day or two.